Welcome to the deep dive. Okay, before we really jump into today's topic, which is fascinating, by the way, just a couple quick things. If you're enjoying these deep dives, finding the insights valuable, please do us a huge favor, head over to Mind Expansion Daily. You'll find loads more great information just like this. And while you're there, please hit like and subscribe. It genuinely helps us grow our reach, worldwide. Also, if you feel like this chat today adds some value to your day, maybe consider buying us a coffee. The link is right there in the description. Super easy, and we really, really love hearing from you. So if you agree, or maybe you totally disagree with our take on today's subject, please drop a comment. We genuinely want to know what you think, and hey, tell us where you're tuning in from. We love seeing how far these deep dives actually reach. All right, let's get into it. Today we're unpacking something really interesting. It's a practice in the Philippines that often surprises visitors, can even be a bit disorienting for some. We're talking about the preference for using water instead of toilet paper for personal hygiene.
It's like deeply woven into daily life there, and it definitely challenges a lot of Western norms.
Oh, absolutely. And what's so fascinating, I think, is how something that seems so simple, right? Bathroom habits, how it can actually reveal so much. We're talking history, economics, culture, health views, even environmental factors. It's not just some quirk. It really is a window into a different way of thinking about cleanliness altogether. I mean, look at the numbers. Toilet paper market penetration in the Philippines, it's projected to be just 2.1% in 2025. That tells you traditional methods, the water-based ones, are overwhelmingly dominant. And today, we're gonna, demystify why.
Okay, so if it's not just a quirk, where did this preference for water actually come from? Is it like a recent thing, or does it have older roots?
Oh, it's definitely historical, deeply historical, actually. It goes way back, centuries even. Think about pre-colonial Filipinos. The archipelago is just blessed with water, right? Rivers, streams, springs everywhere. So naturally, they relied on water for cleansing, for bathing. It was readily available. And culturally, water symbolized purity, spiritual cleansing, too. Then the Spanish arrived, 16th century, brought some European habits, sure, but these local water practices, they were so fundamental, so effective, they just stuck around. Toilet paper, invented in China, popularized later in the West. It just never really caught on in the Philippines. Limited access, different priorities around hygiene.
So the Hugasan method, that's rinsing with water, right? That just kept getting passed down generation after generation.
Exactly. It was maintained as just the way things were done. And this continued even through the American colonial period. They tried promoting Western sanitation, infrastructure, but water remained the norm, especially in rural areas where plumbing, if it existed, was pretty basic. And here's a really practical point that kind of seals the deal for many households even today. Septic systems, very common outside the big cities. And those systems, they really struggle with paper products. They're designed for organic waste, not fibrous paper. So flushing paper often leads to clogs. Big headache.
Right. So using water avoids that whole plumbing nightmare.
Precisely. It just reinforces the reliance on water. And then you add the economics, especially post-World War II, imported stuff like toilet paper, seen as a luxury, an unnecessary cost when water is, basically free and available. Practicality and economics combined.
And right at the heart of this practice is the taboo, isn't it?
Yeah.
I've heard about this. For anyone listening who doesn't know, what exactly is a taboo?
The taboo, yes. It seems really simple, usually a plastic dipper, sometimes metal, but it's everywhere in Philippine bathrooms, homes, public restrooms, you name it. It's more than just a tool, really. It's kind of become a symbol of resourcefulness, of cultural identity, and the Tabo system itself is straightforward. You scoop water from a pail or maybe a bucket, use one hand to clean yourself, rinse thoroughly, then air dry or use a small towel. Culturally, many Filipinos feel it's just, more thorough, more comforting than dry wiping. They talk about this feeling of freshness, a soothing clean that they argue dry paper just can't give you.
Because dry paper might leave residue behind.
Exactly. That's often the argument. You don't feel completely clean.
Interesting. So it's not just about hygiene in a technical sense, but also about the feeling of being clean, that freshness.
Precisely. It's a more holistic view of cleanliness, maybe? And practically. Water is abundant, accessible. The Tabo itself costs next to nothing. Compare that to toilet paper. Even if it seems cheap to us, it can be a real budget item in the Philippines, especially for lower-income families. Historically, people used what they had. recycled paper, leaves, sometimes even corn cobs.
Wow, really? Corn cob?
Yeah, out of necessity. So the cost effectiveness of water and a taboo is huge. Even today in cities, you'll see people maybe use a little bit of paper first and finish with water, kind of a hybrid approach for optimal hygiene as they see it. And then in fancier places, hotels, modern homes, you'll find bidets more often now.
Which is basically a mechanized Tabo, right?
Pretty much.
No.
Yeah, a more sophisticated version. Caters to locals and tourists alike.
And that thing about public restrooms often not having toilet paper,
Mm-hmm.
that's tied into this too.
Yes, absolutely. It's very common. And there are a few reasons. One, it reflects the expectation that people will use water. They often bring their own taboo or find one there. Two, it cuts down on waste and, yes, sometimes theft. Toilet paper can be seen as a consumable commodity worth taking, so it encourages self-reliance, which fits with certain Filipino cultural values, like pakikisama, sort of harmony, community well-being. Keeping things clean is everyone's job.
Right. So it ties into social responsibility too.
In a way, yes. And, many expats, they find it shocking at first, the lack of paper. But honestly, a surprising number actually come around to appreciating the taboo. They start to see it as more intuitive, maybe even more effective.
Okay, let's shift gears slightly to the health angle, because I think some people listening might instinctively think, wait, not using paper, isn't that less hygienic?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm hearing that medical folks actually say something quite different.
Yes, and this is where it really challenges common Western assumptions. It's a key point. Medical experts, health organizations, they increasingly point out that water-based cleaning is actually superior. Think about it logically. A bidet, or using a taboo, you're actively washing away bacteria and residue.
Rather than just smearing it around with dry paper.
Exactly. Dry wiping often just spreads fecal matter. Water removes it much more effectively. This means a lower risk of infections, less skin irritation, fewer issues like dermatitis. Actual studies show dry paper can cause tiny micro tears in sensitive skin, and leaving fecal matter behind, that can increase the risk for UTIs, urinary tract infections, or aggravate things like hemorrhoids or anal fissures.
So water is fundamentally gentler and just does a better job of cleaning.
That's the argument, yes. More thorough, more gentle. It's especially beneficial for women, during menstruation or postpartum recovery. Gentleness and thorough cleaning are really important then. And reputable sources, like the Cleveland Clinic, for instance, they endorse bidets for better hygiene. They note less microbial contamination, less inflammation. Plus, think about the climate. The Philippines is tropical, hot, humid. Water cleaning helps prevent moisture-related problems like fungal infections that can thrive in that kind of environment.
What about splashing? Is that a concern?
It's a valid question, but with proper technique, using clean water and washing hands thoroughly with soap afterwards, that risk is pretty minimal and manageable.
Okay, that's compelling on the health side. What about the environment? How does this practice measure up there?
Ah, the environmental angle. This is huge and often totally overlooked in places where toilet paper is king. Just think about global toilet paper production. It's massive. We're talking millions upon millions of trees cut down every single year, like 712 million trees for 42 million tons of TP globally. That's staggering.
Wow, I had no idea the numbers were that high.
Right. It contributes to deforestation, puts pressure on water resources just to make the stuff. Manufacturing toilet paper globally uses something like 11,165 million tons of water annually.
That's insane.
It is. Now compare that to water hygiene. A Tabo uses a tiny amount of water per use. Even a bidet, while using some water, is generally found to have a much lower overall environmental footprint. Life cycle analyses point to this. Even factoring in electronic bidet energy use, paper production is often way more resource intensive.
So wrapping that part up, it's cheaper for households, better for plumbing, and significantly better for the planet.
Pretty much sums it up, yeah. The economics are clear for most Filipino households. Even with a $1.3 billion TP market there in 2024, that low penetration means massive savings overall. The plumbing benefit, avoiding clogs in septic systems, is a major practical plus, and environmentally, it's just a far more sustainable approach. It promotes hygiene effectively without the huge resource drain or the added costs, especially important in a country still tackling some water sanitation challenges. It's really practical sustainability in action.
It really makes you think. Any idea that using water is somehow primitive just sounds like, well, like cultural bias, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It's textbook ethnocentrism, really. Judging another culture solely by the values and standards of one's own. Look globally. So many cultures prefer water. Across Asia, the Middle East, parts of Southern Europe, they often see toilet paper as insufficient. Maybe even a bit, well, unhygienic on its own.
Right, like in Japan and Korea with their high-tech bidets.
Exactly. Those are standards there. Or India uses lotus vessels, similar function to the Tabo. The Muslim world often uses a shataf, or bum gun. This all challenges the idea that Western-style toilet paper is the default or the best way. It's actually a relatively recent invention in the grand sweep of history. Misconceptions usually come from tourists who encounter basic facilities, maybe without readily available paper, and they judge it based on their own norms without seeing the bigger picture. Hygiene is contextual, it's not absolute. So pulling it all together, what's the takeaway? I think these Filipino hygiene practices, choosing water over paper, really show this incredible mix of cultural resilience, sticking to historical roots, but also just sheer practicality. It's a really strong reminder that what we consider normal is just relative. It depends entirely on where you are, your history, your environment.
And maybe it's a practice that could offer some inspiration globally, couldn't it? As people everywhere become more aware of sustainability, maybe health benefits. Perhaps more will consider bidets or even Tabo-like methods, not just to understand other cultures, but maybe to reduce waste and actually feel cleaner themselves. If you're listening and intrigued, maybe give it a try. We'd love to hear about your experiences if you do. This deep dive really highlights how just looking at everyday habits, understanding why people do things differently, can build empathy, and maybe even sparks some innovation in something as basic as personal care. We really hope you found this as insightful as we did. Okay, before we sign off, just that reminder about our challenge. Really want your thoughts. Leave us a comment below. Agree, disagree. What's your take on this water versus paper topic? And please tell us where you're listening from. Let's see the global reach of the deep dive. Also, one last plug. Check out Mind Expansion Daily for more great stuff like this. Please like and subscribe while you're there. And if you did appreciate this deep dive today, maybe buy us that coffee. Links in the description. Your support honestly helps us keep doing these. It makes a difference. Until next time, stay curious.